And hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Pete's Plastic Playground and the current project, the Mark 1A Spitfire 172 scale starter kit. So here we are, brown and green camouflage applied and complete. So there it is, all over. The pattern is more or less as per the box, and it's all gone on quite nicely, quite well. I used the sort of freehand method. You can still touch some bits up later on if you want to. So as I said before, there's plenty of paint in those little Humbrol paint pots. We've got the underside painted, don't forget already, and this is one of the exciting moments that I've been looking for, and that is removing the masking tape, because we've finished the main painting now. So we masked off the area between the underside, the light green colour, the Humbrol number 90, I think it is, yes, and the brown and green surfaces. So let's go for it. Let's take the masking tape off and see if there's been any bleeding under. To be honest with you, there is usually some, and worst case scenario is we have to get some paint and just touch over it as accurately as we can. So here we are, big moment. Pull off the masking tape. So far so good on this side, nice clean line. And on the other side, there's the line that side. Look, that's come out okay. And the other side, it's more than acceptable. Quite happy with that. So let's take off the tape under the engine. This section here. Yep, pretty good. And again, yeah, more than acceptable that side. So we've got a nice crisp finish between the two surfaces. Maybe a tiny little bit of bleed under one section, but certainly happy with that. And there's a tiny bit there which I may well just touch up with some of this number 90 Humbrol. But that's gone into the wheel well for the tail wheel, which brings me nicely onto the next section now. So the jobs we've got left to do are the tail wheel, which is still on the sprue. We've got the undercarriage. If you remember earlier on, we've sort of painted that ready to stick together, so the undercarriage to go into there. And we've got the airspeed pitot to stick into that little hole there, and we've got an aerial to pop into there and to paint as well. So that will be painted in the brown camouflage colour to match that section. So want to stick along while I crack on with that. So I'll first of all, I'm going to address that little tiny bit of overbleed. I'm not going to bother watering this paint down because it's such a teeny weeny little job. And also what I've done is the paint that I haven't used from the mixing pot, I've poured back in here as it's already thinned down. And so this little pot of number 90 is getting on for being pretty well thinned down, and as you can see, I'm having to give it a good old stir up to get the pigment back to the colour it should be. Again, I do my best to let you see what's going on here, but it's not easy sometimes. Let's get that in the centre of the shot. I hope everybody's keeping well in these in this time of this global pandemic, and that you're managing to stay sane when you're indoors. I've got to say, our house is spotless. When I haven't been building this Airfix kit, I've been indoors, and with my family we're all kind of cleaning each room as we go, and doing a deep clean with the hoover and so on, and managing to do a little bit of shopping here and there. So yeah, it's a funny old time. Anyway, so I hope your home is managing as well as my household is, and we're all managing to keep it together. So there we are. And of course, if you're watching this video in 50 years time, this was filmed during the great COVID-19 pandemic of 2020. So this is a moment in history that we're living through now. Just finding a little bit of kitchen tissue here to wipe the cocktail stick down with, and find the trusty Humbrol brush that came with the starter kit, which is bearing up very well and doing a great job for us. So here we go, just a teeny weeny little bit of paint on there on the brush. Just gently touch that in. It's always the case that less is more with this paint, so that's it. Not unhappy with that, that's fine. That's just got rid of that tiny little bit of overbleed there. Maybe a touch there as well. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. Something I noticed, a little bit of an anomaly with the spinner on the propeller, is that in the instructions it says to paint it in number 33 black, which I duly did, but looking at the colour chart on the back, it actually says to paint it in number 90. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to paint it in number 90, which is not going to be easy because it's on the plane, and I'm going to have to be fairly delicate with it so that I don't get any of the wrong colour paint on the propeller blades themselves. Well, that was a bit of a large dollop there, but I seem to have got away with it. Just do that bit in there, just touch that in gently, behind under there, so that the area, actually I think black forms a pretty good undercoat for this colour, gives it a nice deep richness to the colour. I can't think what this number 90 is called, whether it's aircraft. Oh, that's I just touched a little bit there. I think I got away with it, that's alright. Yeah, I can't think what this colour number 90 is called. I'll look it up later on. So, there we are. If the black does start to show through when it dries, I'll just touch it in. So there we are. There's. I think that looks a lot better actually. The spinner's painted in the green now. So I'm going to put the plane to one side for a moment. I'll just park that there. I think that's that little bit that I touched up, I didn't smudge it with my sausage hands while I was holding it elsewhere, so that's okay. Just going to put that aside for a minute and just wash the brush, put the lid back on the paint pot before that empties over the workbench, and move on to the next task. Now the fitting still to go on is part number sprue A, part number 15, which is the radio, the wireless aerial. So I'll take that off shortly, stick it on the plane, and I think I'll paint it brown when it's on the plane. And then there is also on this sprue, I think, if I can see it. No, I can't see it, so it must be on here. Oh yeah, here we are. Sprue B part 28 is actually the tail wheel. Now that needs to be painted in the number 90 and number 33, the black for the tyre. So I think I'm going to make that my next job. Do that little bit of painting, but again I'm going to do that when it's on the aeroplane, because it's a teeny weeny little part to hold. There's no point painting it on the sprue, because all that's going to happen when you cut it off of the sprue, the parts that are still connected to the sprue aren't going to be painted, so you're going to have to touch them in again anyway. So I'm going to take the parts away from the sprue, stick it on the plane and paint it while it's on the plane. So so I'll do that now. Some of you watching the channel may have noticed that I made a muck-up of the sequence of the numbers of these videos. I looked at last night, because they, even on my home Wi-Fi, they take about 2 hours to upload these fairly short videos. And and as I went to bed I looked at the channel, and to my horror I had 2 edition 8s. so I've come out here this morning and corrected that one. And also a little momentous occasion today, I reached 300 subscribers, which is really nice and more than I ever imagined I would. So anyway, let's stick that tail wheel in there. There it goes. So that just fits into that little slot nicely in there at that angle, and that means that the aeroplane will be able to land safely and stand on the ground okay. I've just noticed a little bit more of the I'll stick to my cocktail stick rule here for the glue. I just put a little bit of glue in there. Yes, as I was saying, I've noticed another area of the underside paint which the green paint has bled into, so I'll touch that in when I paint the tail wheel. So there we are, that's got that into position. Can you see that there? That's the tail wheel on. Lovely. Good. So and then also while I'm under here, I'm going to stick that part number 20, which is that airspeed pitot. I've already painted that, so I'll just need to give that a little touch in as well. So move the plane over and just trimming the surplus plastic from the sprue off of that. That's a delicate little part, I don't want to break it. Good. Teeny weeny application of glue there, and pick the pitot up. With the tweezers and just drop it into position there. Nice. So let's leave those 2 bits to set. Okay. Can you see that pitot, by the way? It is small. There, you can see it there. Okay, so we'll leave that there. Now let's turn to the main undercarriage assembly, because what we need to do now is to glue the wheels onto the undercarriage legs that we've already painted. Need to get the surplus blue tack away from there. Put the lid on the glue for a moment. Blue tack's very useful stuff to have on the in your array of equipment for building these models. But on this occasion actually it's proved to be a bit of a bind to get off of the wheel. Come on. There we are, that's opened up the hole anyway. So what I'm going to do now is I'll take the blue tack away from there as well. Open up the glue, grab the cocktail stick and put the wheel face down on the workbench. Put a teeny weeny dab of glue in each hole. Don't be tempted to once we glued the landing gear onto the plane, don't be tempted to straight away try and stand it up or imitate a landing, because realistically it'll take a good while for this glue to set hard enough for that to happen. So all I'm doing now is there's a little post on the back of the undercarriage leg. I'm sticking that into the wheel of the plane like that, and that's ready to pretty much ready to fly. And the same with the other side. Just turn that round slightly. Stick that in there like that. Good. Now it's time, I think, to stick those into the undercarriage bays. So work out which one is which. I think the wheels are on the outside, so this one will go here. So if you look at the shape of the, sorry, I got my fingers in the way, I'll pick it up with the tweezers. If you look at the shape of the undercarriage housing versus how it would be in the closed position, that kind of shows you where it would be. So I'm just going to trim the end of the undercarriage post to make sure I've got a nice clean edge for it to go into the hole in the wheel bay there. Just trim that off. Good. And the trusty cocktail stick with some glue on. Applied in there. And then we can pick this up, put that in, I think that's it. Oh, this is a fiddle. Just hold it in position while the glue starts to tack. There. So that's that one. As I say, I've got no intention of standing the plane on its undercarriage at the moment. So not quite ready for that. I'm just going to put that down for a moment while I trim the other side up. Get rid of any nasty extra bits on the leg of the undercarriage. I think that's all right. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a fairly big sounding helicopter going over. Possibly be a Merlin, I don't know. Oh, wrong way round, Pete. There, and that's that one in position as well. So there's the undercarriage in and on, ready to go. As I say, I'm going to give it a little while before I... Oh, I've knocked the pie tot over there. I'm going to give that a little while before I attempt to stand it on its wheels. And I think what I'm going to do now is paint the tail wheel, and then I'll stick the aerial on and paint that. So sorry, I keep moving the plane out of shot. But there we are. So tail wheel on, pie tot in position, and landing gear down. Okay, so I think that's a good little bit of progress there. So I shall leave that there for you to admire for a moment. What I've just noticed, actually, I need to put some dark green over that. The number 90 is showing under the masking there, so that's right. That's an easy little fix. See, already that's started to separate again. Let's give that a good stir. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos that have music playing in the background, but there again, I think most YouTube modelling presenters don't sort of talk through the builds like I do. Maybe I don't know, maybe I should put some music on to entertain you. Or perhaps I'll just keep waffling on, maybe, I don't know. Here we go. So I'm just going to put a little bit on that bit that I've noticed there. That's much better. Just tiny little bits of paint just to touch up these iffy areas here. Okay, so that's that painted that colour as per the instructions. Good. So I'll leave that there for a moment to dry. Clean off the brush, put the lid on the pot, and then I think what I'll do is I'll have a little break, put you on pause, and come back shortly.